All right, boys, Path of Exile. The announcement of the announcement has been announced. I'm assuming by tomorrow, because Gamescom is 6 days away, and I believe GGG is one of the main like headliners for Gamescom. So I'm assuming we're either going to get like it all at once or spread out, you know, some news each day. But most likely it'll do like another 40-minute to an hour long presentation. I know everybody's hyped. I have just about 1,000 hours into Path of Exile 2, and Talking of Try here has done a massive collab with a bunch of people: Dreamcore, Neversink, Schwingy, Traffic, Sergog, Blazeworks, Frosty LaRue, Call, Mesox, F Swith, Cyclone, Gavrin, Arrow, Balor, Snoobay, Action, a local hole. You know, if you don't know all those guys, what are you doing? Basically, hit me up, Try. I got tons of input. You know, we've made a lot of videos. We've had some videos had like 40,000 views. It's pretty good for, you know, switching my content around here. But I'm in. Do you want to talk to somebody? You want, or you know, there's 3 guys that are doing the podcast. I forget their names. I think Dead Rabbit's one of them. I think it's me Socks. I forget the other guy that's in there. You ever want somebody to yap, dude? I'm a yapper. Hit me up. But anyway, let's watch this. Okay, this is new changes Path of Exile 2 needs right now. Massive collab. Let's see what they got to say here. Let's make sure, because my internet sucks. Make sure it's on 1080. Let's see.
What does Path of Exile 2 need right now? This is a question that Grinding Your Games has likely asked themselves ever since the release of POE2 into early access in December.
I mean, look, we've only had one update, one league, if you want to call it, and it is pretty bad. Okay, they had to do a lot of fixing real quick, and I think like they got that out of their system. Besides nerfing like lightning spear and stuff, which lightning skills are still super OP. It's gonna take a while for the game to get going, all right, but it's still good to, like, I'm sure they know what it needs, but it's good to have the community, you know, be like, hey,
they love feedback, and in anticipation of what might be the largest content update to POE2.
Was that DM? Is that DM?
Obviously, they love feedback, and in anticipation of what might be the largest.
Is he calling DM fat?
Content update to POE2 so far.
Rip DM.
Also only the second. I reached out to a variety of my friends and fellow content creators, as well as the Talkative Try community on.
Damn. Like, I see, here's the thing. Like, there's so many content creators in this space, and I don't like to be the person that's like, hey, I do this, let me on your show. Like, I don't like to be like pushy and like, hey, like, because then it just seems like you're begging for views. Like, I'm only, what, 20,000 subs behind Try. Like, I'm not small. We got 32,600 or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to seem like I'm begging for views. I want to be a part of the community. I want to like talk with these guys. Like, I think it's cool that all these people can get together and like talk and do podcasts and like do interviews with Jonathan. And like, I want to be a part of that, man. So if anybody, you know, wants to throw me out there to some of these guys, let me know. Because like I said, I got 1,000 hours in this game. I ain't going anywhere. You're stuck with me. You're going to see me. So, you know, I don't want to, like, I don't like to feel like I'm like begging or like, you know, trying to like, oh yeah, like, no, I just want to talk. That's it.
YouTube asking them all.
I don't want to DM him. Like, hey,
POE2 need right now. Who better than Dreamcore to kick off the responses? This guy's smart. He's my first Path of Exile friend, and the dude communicates so effectively. He'll know what Jonathan Rogers needs to hear.
Path of Exile 2 needs skill balance and lots of it if necessary. I don't want to see another patch.
Let me move here so you can, obviously the names are going to be on that side. But talking about the skill balance. So we do know here that basically, from what I remember, Jonathan said that they are going to rework all of the skills so that they're all endgame viable, and that while doing that, we might not get a new class for this 0.3. So, you know,
0.2 where
it would suck not to get a new class, but having every skill viable will be a lot better. So it's like one of those things, you know, and they can't do everything at once. Plus, this was delayed almost an extra month from what we were told. So,
you know, 50 or 60% of players are playing the exact same build, the
What's
same
like 53%?
ascendancy, the same skill.
Right on the money. I'm pretty sure that Grinding Your Games will agree 100% with all
Lightning
of that.
Spear.
If something
I
is
didn't play it.
overtuned, it needs to be nerfed, even if it's mid-league.
Well, while I agree with Dreamcore here, it's evident that GGG does not. Will they swap?
Do you guys remember they nerfed? I remember like cast on freeze or cast on crit comets were like super OP, and they nerfed that and something else mid league, and everybody got super pissed. And everybody was like, "Don't nerf anything mid league. Just let it go till the the next league." And it's like Lightning Spear's OP, and it's like now everybody's calling for nerfs. It's like, did you not forget what happened? Everybody was so mad when they nerfed it. They didn't want to play the game anymore. They were like, I put all this money in this build, and then you destroyed it mid-league, and now I can't do anything. So you guys got to pick a side here, you know?
Their stance? Probably never. Maybe if we talk about it enough, they may consider it, though. All right, who do we have? Oh my goodness, it's the filter god himself. What does this man think Path of Exile 2 needs?
Yeah, let's see.
More interesting choices, such as more skills you would realistically use in an endgame scenario. Less hurdles to use those choices, such as less stat requirements and less level requirements. And an endgame with a clear identity. Currently POE2 endgame is very much POE1 without the tooling of POE1. You're slow, and there's not enough surprises, and there's not enough interesting content. So that needs to become more clear and more interesting.
Much like Give.
So I 100% agree with like stat requirements. Okay, I've played a lot of mercenary. We've done like, I don't know, 10 mercenary builds for Dawn of the Hunt. I feel like I'm the go-to mercenary guy at this point. We've done every combination, and you have to have high strength and high dex to wield a crossbow. What if I want to do an ice build? There's plenty of cold, ice skills, and you have to then, if you want to use Herald of Ice, have high intelligence. Or do you want to use Cast on Freeze? You need high intelligence. It's very hard to take a mercenary and scale its damage and then have all three of your stats the same, because you're losing damage to grab that. Okay, well now I can't scale dex to get more attack speed with like Falcon Dive and whatever the other one is. The one with the skills with the accuracy. I'll put down the War Banner and my accuracy goes up by like, 30%. Gives me more attack speed. I have to lose all that, which the faster you can spray like shock burst rounds, the more damage you're going to do. So if I want to do an ice build, I got to sacrifice a ton of damage to get enough intelligence, which the only thing the intelligence is doing is allowing me to use Herald of Ice. And sure, you can use Coming Calamity, right? And get them all for free, but it's 100% agree with that.
And Galadriel, I asked Neversink for one thing. He gave me 3. Perfect. Agree with all 3 of them, especially the fact that Path of Exile 2's endgame needs more surprises, needs more variety. That concept of Path of Exile 2's endgame being an essential copy of Path of Exile 1's without any of the cool stuff, any of the tooling, as Neversink said, it makes so much sense, and that's why a lot of the magic that people love about Path of Exile 1's endgame just isn't present in POE2. The only gimmick of Path of Exile 2's endgame right now is the Infinite Atlas, and that does not draw anyone in.
A lot of people
who do we have next here?
don't like maps, and I gotta say, I'm kind of with them.
Way superior to
like
mine.
I like it and I don't.
Provided some killer content alongside just a direct-to-camera monologue. Oh yeah. Here he is.
So what does Path of Exile 2 need the most right now? I think it's got to be build variety. They got to make sure that every single skill that is a main skill candidate is actually worth playing from like early levels all the way into the end game. Right now, that is not the case. I would really love for them to go back and like rebalance all of that, which I know they say they want to do, but do it right this time. Come on. Get it right.
I'm sensing a bit of a trend here, Grinding Your Games. In a title all about creating a character build, people want you to pay attention.
Because that's the thing. Like I said, I played a lot of Mercenary. There's nothing better than Galvanic Shards for clear. sure it's possible to do some other things, but it's galvanic shards with Herald of Thunder, or, you know, when we did that Common Calamity build, we use all of the heralds to pop all the mobs and use the little thing that shoots the ice and it goes into like a V, the little ice wall. But it just took so much work to set that up. But yeah, I should be able to blast. And galvanic shards and shock burst is just OP. And without, what was it, the last lament, the new unique, that thing, Requiem, that thing destroyed. That's my hardest hitting single target DPS with that. We did like 32 mil, 28 mil, whatever Zex T4 has, in like 4 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds, completely annihilated him. Shock burst rounds can't do that. And then speaking of Zex shock burst rounds, it shoots, the hitbox is all fucked up, so it shoots past him, and more than 50% of your shots of shock burst round don't even connect with him. And it just makes it frustrating because you spend all the time getting there and you waste your breach stone and then you can't hit the dude. So anyway,
to how these skills play, how they scale into the end game, how they feel. All right, who's up next? Oh my goodness, this man gave me a green screen. He must trust me.
If you had to ask me what Path of Exile 2 needs right now, right in this moment, without a doubt, there are two things that come to mind. First and foremost, we absolutely positively need Blight. Hands down, Path of Exile 2 engine plus Blight, absolutely sign me up. The second thing,
I agree.
Unfortunately, we really desperately need some sort of auction house system or a way to buy items offline. The biggest flaw in Path of Exile is sometimes I can't buy that item that was listed 32 days ago by that guy that's not logging in.
How can someone be so big?
I'm in. Dude, when we went back with the Secrets of the Atlas, we did a volcanic fissure, and Blight was so much fun. I never really done Blight, and I was having a lot of fun with that. And I agree that I think they said there is something coming. They're working on something for like the auction house, or I guess a different way for the trade, because it's a pain in the ass, and there's scammers out there too.
But so wrong at the same time. I totally agree with Travic on his second point about an automated auction house system. It's so frustrating, especially in the latter days of the league. Maybe you're one of the people who doesn't get a lot of time to play, and you're extending your playtime all the way into month 3 or even month 4, breaking almost into month 5 of the league, and nobody's responding to your trade. It's beyond frustrating. And honestly, it even happens during week 1. Just to a lesser extent. On the Blight front, Travic, I know you love Blight, but look at this. Look at this. Can you imagine this in Path of Exile 2's engine? This wardrobe change
It's going to take everybody's game.
One of my favorite Path of Exile
You just get a haircut?
and someone I've had the joy of collaborating with.
You filmed this over a couple days,
I'm going to
huh?
throw it over to one of the most analytical minds in this scene right now, Sir Gog.
So I was asked what's the most important thing for GGG to get right in 030. I reckon it is getting the gearing process, start and middle, to feel noticeably different to 010, but also to feel good. Now, I don't think they've got it in a bad spot as of 020H, but that was way too late to save Dawn of the Hunt. So hopefully they get that gearing process right, and the best thing Grinding Gear Games can do to get that right is to be testing the process of leveling characters from start to finish. Not just testing individual acts, but doing the whole playthroughs.
Expert analysis, as always, from Sir Gog. And look at that. Even Sir Gog might be hinting at getting all the acts in the game, because it is incredibly important that characters are getting the right loot most of the time throughout their entire playthrough. So when they enter Endgame, it's a smooth experience for the player if they know what they're doing. There are plenty of people who do understand the game, who do understand how to gear and build the character, that still struggle in Path of Exile 2.
Yeah.
And it's not always a skill issue. Sometimes it is, but not always. All right, let's.
I mean, I don't have an issue with the leveling. Because even when I tried like Volcanic Fissure Titan, it was a little difficult at times with like clearing maps, but I knew that going into trying to even make that thing work. But I mean, like, most of the time when I get the maps, I go straight to like a tier 7, tier 11, straight to tier 15. It's like, I've never really had an issue with any of that personally, but I know a lot of people struggle, so.
Manifest a Diablo 2 veteran into this video for some Path of Exile 2 truth.
Hey everybody, Blaze here. I think that POE2 needs more items, specifically more build-enabling uniques and socketables. If Diablo 2 has taught me anything, it's that the loot aspect of an ARPG is so crucial, and that's one of the reasons why I've been going back to Diablo 2 for 20 years now. Can't wait to see what I'm picking up in 0.3. Peace.
I agree with him on the build enabling uniques, but the socketables, I don't know. You said the magic no word for me. I know that they're really trying to make socketables work. They're not working for me. I hope that they are phased out eventually and they try something new entirely during the course of early access, even though this is incredibly unlikely since they've sold this as a stash tab, which is a whole other rabbit hole. I'm thinking that socketables are always going to be here to stay. But Blaze,
I mean, I don't have a problem with socketables. I'm glad that they made the change that we can move them around, because before, once you put it in the gear, that was it. That sucked when you would get new gear and stuff. They did add a lot in Dawn of the Hunt. Out of, God, 600 hours of Dawn of the Hunt, I never got one to drop, like one of the rare socketables that are, you know, I think I got 1 or 2, maybe 3, but there's so many of those like purple ones that are like really, really good. Same thing with the wisp, but I never expect into grinding the wisps. I know some people in chat have, but I think socketables can work. I also think they'll work better if we remove the light radius and rarity off of gear so we can get better stats or pump reses more, because all of my socketables go to res. Pretty much 90% of them go to res. So I feel like even if, you know, because you got to have max res for endgame, and I feel like I miss out on a lot of the cool socketables because I need my sockets for res. So that's my take on it.
is right on the money with build enabling uniques. How many of those currently exist in Path of Exile 2? Try right now in the comments.
The last Lament crossbow that they added not too long ago is the only good one. The other ones are like for like level 1 to 20. That's it. I mean, the stats are so low. Even last Lament can't get as high as like a good rare crossbow, but it still absolutely annihilates. I think the crossbow only had like 2 to begin with. It's either 2 or 3. But
Below.
6 minutes into this video. That's 18 minutes on my...
Name some build enabling uniques. Can you get more than 10 off with ease? I struggle. Then again, I'm not a build crafter. All right, many of these ideas have been phenomenal, but we need some serious good juice from somebody who's a super fan of not just Path of Exile 2, but other franchises to add some of his feedback.
I have about
Frosty.
15,000 hours in POE2. Love the game.
Did he say 15,000? No, hold on.
In POE2.
Path of Exile 2, but other franchises to add some of his feedback.
No way.
I have about 15,000 hours in POE2.
Holy shit, dude. 50. I thought I was bad with 1,000 hours. And I'm already been bored. Holy shit, dude.
Love
Frosty,
the game.
go outside.
Really think there's only one thing me and probably everyone else in the community really wishes they were to add, and that's a cookbook. I mean, you see what it did for Diablo 4? This could bring POE2 to the next level. One thing I'm sure millions of gamers would love is if this game came out for Mac. I mean, you're really missing out on a huge market share. Have you thought about adding powers?
Some absolutely cooked takes from Frost.
I love how sarcastic he's being, dude. If you know, you know, dude.
There. Now, he did send me a few serious ones, but he did give me permission to just put in the comical ones. I think it's worthwhile. Levity is important.
Yeah,
anyway, let's
cookbook.
get to the most direct dude in this list. Featured by Grinding Gear Games. Unashamed about his opinions. He is known as the Thorn God.
I imagine that you're going to get a lot of different answers to this question.
Oh, this is the guy on the
because
podcast.
POE2 honestly needs a lot. And that is because it is an unfinished early access product. And people tend to forget that just because of how polished and clean it looks at times. What the game needs most
Every time people see people getting like real crazy, I'm like, dude, it's still early access. It just came out in December. Well, just came out. That was 8 months ago, 9 months ago. But it's gonna get there. I mean, look at Titan Quest 2. Same price tag. POE2 blows it out of the water as far as content. You know what I mean? So like, it could be worse.
though is to stop being treated like it's finished and start getting updated more frequently. There are so many problems with skills and systems that could be adjusted on a more frequent basis that would keep us playing long term.
Jonathan,
This guy gets it.
to tell you. Lots of people just want constant changes in early access. But alas, Path of Exile 2 is being treated like a released product.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a point. It is being treated like that. New big updates with leagues every 3 to 4 months. There's the thing, would you rather have every 2 weeks, hey, this is what we've been working on, let's throw it in the game? Whether it's a new unique, a new socketable. I mean, would you guys prefer like a weekly update, a bi-weekly update with a little bit here and there? Or would you rather them drop? I think they should keep it the way it is. I know it's early access, but it's one of those things. It's tough.
In terms of most of its polish and in terms of how often updates are being pushed out. I remember 022 was supposed to happen, maybe even 023. That didn't pan out. Perhaps that's growing pains juggling POE2 and POE1. We'll see in good time. All right, let's see what my relatively...
And that's the other thing. You're going to get every 2 months, you're getting POE1, 2 months POE2, 2 months POE1. While it's good, it's also a lot harder for them. They can't just focus on one game. I mean, keep in mind, it was almost a year before we got another POE1 league, you know?
New friend Miso Shiro has to say about
what
POE2 needs in this moment.
Hey guys, Miso here. So to answer the question of what Path of Exile 2 needs right now is definitely a difficult one. I think that there's a lot of answers for it, but definitely one of them has to be a more rewarding mapping experience. I think right now mapping is very simple. You go from tier 1 to tier 15 fairly quickly, and tier 16s aren't that much of a difference. The difficulty levels of these maps don't really scale that high, and as a result, it's never that challenging to do. And also, the challenge does not mean reward. So even if you make maps more challenging, right now, rewards aren't increased. So I'd love to see there to be a higher tier of maps that can actually be challenging, like in Path of Exile 1, and make it so that the more challenging the maps are, the more rewards that you get. That way it can actually be rewarding to run these maps as opposed to just going and putting on rarity gear and farming breaches and having high density.
Oh my goodness.
I agree. I avoid Delirium even though they have better drops, just because it tanks my PC, it tanks the PlayStation. Doesn't matter what I play on. Like, I'll get like 10 frames and it's just impossible to play. But I agree, like, you know, running some Valor or some tier 15s, getting some tier 16s, there's no difference at all. There's no difficulty difference. And, you know, we used to have to run, 10 tier 1s, 10 tier 2s, 8 tier 3, whatever it was. And then they changed it to just, you know, upgrading with the corruption spots and cleanse all that. It just felt like a slog, you know, like, yeah, you could, if you were still on tier 3, you could do a tier 5 and it would still count. But yeah, I mean, instead of having like rarity on gear taking up, you know, stat spots, just like every tier of map, give it more rarity. I'm sure that's already how it is, but like if we're doing tier 15, tier 16s, give us something that's really going to boost the rarity. You know what I mean? Make it worthwhile. Like, I 100% agree. Because like you can farm tier 15s, tier 16s for hours and get like 1 or 2 divines. If you don't, I'm somebody who doesn't put rarity on their gear, so I'm running like 15% rarity at maximum, and the drops fucking suck.
This Miso preach. Reward should scale with difficulty. Totally agree with that point.
Same.
However, I don't think you need to add another level of maps on top of what's currently there if you fix reward scaling with difficulty.
I agree.
You just need more
I agree
ways
with
to
him.
make your maps difficult. You don't need to add a whole new level of map. For some of these people, like me, it takes quite a long time to finish your atlas and clear all those high tier maps. I didn't finish my atlas in 0.1. I didn't finish it in 0.2 either. I played about 170 hours in 0.1 and about 50 or 60 hours in 0.2. If they tackle one part of what you presented, scaling rewards with difficulty, other things will be solved. That extra level of map difficulty, maybe that'll come out once Path of Exile 2 is 10 years old. All right, it's time to F with Farham.
Yeah,
Let's
I
see
agree
what
with
he
Try.
has to say.
Hello everybody, hello Try, it's me, Farham, and we are here with a quick comment about what I think needs to change in Path of Exile 2. I think they need a way to dump currency. I think inflation is the biggest problem with their league mechanic right now. They're going to be adding features to the endgame, right? There's going to be
It's
more
like 2,000 exalts for one divine.
coming over time in the form of league mechanics. But there's no way to dump that early currency. Exalt to divine ratios go crazy, and that is a surefire way to lose all of your casual, semi-casual audience who might have to take a weekend away, that FOMO of not being able to keep up with a rapidly inflating market. I think it drives the players away, it drives them away fast, and I think we've got two very clear indications of that happening over 0.1 and 0.2, where you see the drop-off just like a slide, just off SteamDB, just wherever the player's gone. So yeah, I think they need to add some way to dump that currency, probably in the form of a crafting bench, some deterministic crafting, bring crafting out for people, and actually let people customize their gear, get the characters ready for what they're trying to do, and at the same time stop inflation. I think that would be the biggest change that could come in 0.3. And that is it for me. Thanks everyone.
Dude is speaking.
I agree. I remember where Exalts got up to like 200, 300, and then they went to like 600, and then they were like 900. I think last time I checked, they were like just about 2,000. 2,000 exalts for one divine. And honestly, I feel like I see more chaos orbs drop than exalts in the end game, and it's only like 20 to 30 chaos right now for one divine, which is fine. But yeah, there's got to be a different way. We need the crafting bench from POE1 where you can add, prefix, suffix, like the Sacred Grove where you can do some more stuff. But I'm sure crafting will come. I'm sure next week we're going to learn. We're going to get some new crafting. At least I hope. But it needs something badly because, like, divines are so rare. Like, I would love to throw some divines on a good piece of gear and re-roll the stats. But I save them, and by the time I get enough, I just go buy gear that's already good. But right now, there's so many pieces of gear for, like, mirrors, multiple mirrors. And it's like, like I said, I don't play with rarity. And it's so hard for me to get divines. The only time I do is when I like bump up omens and I get like an omen of whittling and I sell it and I'll get 2 or 3 divines. Like I'll get them to drop, but it's not enough. I should be able to get a little bit more and slam them on the gear. But and a lot of those guys that are slamming gear like that, they're buying it. They're buying currency. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten emails from these sites that sell currency for Path of Exile asking me to promote it on my videos. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Right to me. Even though I hopped into trade, I was basically priced out of any real upgrades for my characters because I wasn't playing enough and I wasn't earning enough items. I wasn't using rarity on my gear because I was trying to make my character more powerful to clear the
Tries just like me. I refuse to put rarity on gear. I'd rather have a little bit more damage output. This is how it is. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I should waste stats. Light radius. I didn't do anything. So what? I don't know, man.
Content I wanted to clear without relying on somebody else's build, and it just felt bad. And as I just said, that's why I played way more in 0.1 compared to 0.2. The novelty wore off, and I felt like I was just left behind, and alongside all my other IRL problems, when I logged in, I felt like I couldn't make any real progress. And that did stuck. There's a certain level of mental barrier I have between me and the rest of the player base. I think you need that if you are going to be a casual player like myself. But when exalts to divines are 2,000 to 1, something is up. You need syncs for these currencies or the new common.
And exalts aren't dropping like candy. It can take you forever to get enough right now for 2,000 to 1. It's fucking crazy. It's absurd.
Currency in Path of Exile 2, the trading currency, Chaos Orbs. Maybe they should be a bit more common. All right, we're moving on over to Cyclone. Let's see what he has to say about what POE2 needs imminently.
Path of Exile 2 needs 3 things right now. First is more content, which will bring more ways to specialize our builds in and more ways to craft gear. Second is a currency sync for Trade League, something that consumes divines and other currencies and stops divines just skyrocketing endlessly. And third, for more skills to be viable, ignoring broken skills for a moment. Too many skills are either a clunky or a combo that just doesn't feel good to do in endgame or does 0 damage at all. I love build experimentation in Path of Exile 2, but a lot of skills just feel too weak.
All right, we're getting a lot of agreement between certain people here in this video. What Cyclone just added to the conversation is that feeling of a lack of climax with many Path of Exile 2 skills. And hopefully, Grinding Your Games is addressing that in 0.3. They all know we want to climax more often. All right, yeah, I'm sorry that you have to follow that, but here we go.
What does POE2 need right now? I'd have to say more dopamine in the endgame and implementing all 6 acts because Cruel's getting pretty old. Also, I'm as stoked as the next Exile for Druid to be released, but Assassin and Traps are what I'm most looking forward to.
All right, Gav, you're lucky I didn't cut that from the video. What is this Druid slander in favor of the Shadow and Traps? To be fair.
Is it going to be Druid? Is it going to be Templar? Is it going to be Marauder? Is it going to be Shadow? We don't know. Are we even going to get one at all?
It is a sentiment I am seeing more and more in my Discord and in comment sections. People are leaving the Druid and the big hind legs in favor of daggers and exploding mechanical contraptions on the floor. What?
I mean, it would be cool. I would rather have like a strength intelligence build. You know what I mean?
What is wrong with the world? Okay. Let's move on to this chill dude and one of the only other Path of Exile creators who isn't afraid to show some arm.
What does Path of Exile 2 need right now? Crafting. Low-end items are found on the ground. Super high-end items are crafted with materials that the average player can't afford, leaving a colossal gap in the mid-game.
Bro was the most concise person in this video and
Facts.
possibly one of the most impactful.
Too expensive.
I think this is almost universally agreed on that this is something that needs to be added and changed in Path of Exile 2 right now, and Arrow just communicated it eloquently and effectively. All right, I'm sure this next dude is going to be just as concise. Right, Balor?
So, what does Path of Exile 2 need right now? There's a long list. We could talk about that for a while, but...
Uh-oh.
I feel like most of these are going to be the same.
Think the most important thing right now for POE2 is either just raw movement speed, because we literally don't have enough. I feel like I've got concrete shoes on.
You could use a bump.
Or the second thing, which is that I think in the history of POE2 so far, I have seen 2 builds total that didn't feel like they were designed in-house at GGG before we ever got access to it. There is no build creativity available. We have a very limited set of tools that only work together with the tools that were designed by GGG to work together.
Yeah.
So whether you've come up with a build or not, you haven't come up with a build. You're just figuring out the pieces of
We've
the
tried a
build
lot of
that
different
were
things and they
already
just never
formed
work.
before we even got the patch. What we need the most is the ability to actually create things and be interesting, because POE1 is drowning in that. And it always has, and that's one of my favorite things about POE1, and it appears to be completely missing from POE2 right now.
Once more, I am getting called out in this video.
And dude got in the shower that quick?
I stumbled into one of the predetermined builds by Grinding Your Games in 0.2. Lightning Spear on the Amazon, and it was busted. Now, I totally understand his point here, and I do think there should be a lot more build diversity and customization options available, Maybe not as much as POE1 right now, given POE1 has been out for numerous years at this point,
Yeah, it's
but
gonna be a
greater
while.
than the current set. I also think that the dummy builds should exist for people like myself, so I can stumble into something that I am okay with scaling all the way into at least the early to mid end game, downing the Arbiter of Ash or whatever pinnacle boss is in the game at that point in time. That is one of the great things about Path of Exile 2 in my mind, the fact that I don't need to rely on any external sites as of now, and I can clear a good chunk of the game with the tools available in the game itself. I really hope that keeps being true all the way into the distant future for POE2. Everyone, rejoice. I have some wise words from the Messiah of Path of Exile for this very video.
One of the big problems here is that the development team has been bogged down by worrying too much about balance changes. Really wish they'd just let the gloves off, been like, all right, guys, look, it's early access. Who knows what we're going to do? We may nerf your favorite build. We may buff your favorite build. We may all but delete the entire class, you know? That's just the way of it. It's a wild, wild west out here. But in return for doing that, you get to experiment like your wildest dreams. You can do all these crazy things. We're going to introduce all these insane setups, these synergies and techs. We don't even know what they do yet. You know, that kind of stuff. I feel like it was just a bit vanilla, okay? Especially 0.2.
I think Snube is dead right here.
Yes and no, because like if they just keep adding everything and it's just super busted and they let that go, people are going to get very used to everything being OP. And then say what? A year from now, a year and a half from now, then they apply all these nerfs that they've been keeping track of because they're just dumping stuff. They're going to have to keep game balance. And I think the best way to do it is to just, you know, like this league came out, Lightning Spear's busted, okay? Next league, nerf it. Bring it down. If they just let it be the wild, wild west, they're not going to be able, there's going to be too much outrage by the time they keep track and then, like, say it comes out of early access and they nerf everything, everybody's going to be pissed. I agree that they should just throw things in and see what happens, but they're going to have to adjust as they go. There's going to be pitchforks.
Dawn of the Hunt was a reactivity patch. Yes, the Huntress was added, but a lot of the content shipped in that update was in reaction, in response to everybody's concerns in 0.10. In some regards, it didn't end up going very well. And now we've heard that 0.30 will have much of the same, focusing on rebalancing and remaking existing skills, addressing the speed problem in the game, amongst other things. Hopefully it adds a good chunk of new content into the game.
Yeah, because when you play other RPGs and come back,
I'd rather see
the
them
speed
just
feels
ship
so
a
slow.
bunch of content during early access, have us test all of it, and then focus on balancing once all of it is in the game, or once it's approaching its.
I think it would be too much. It would be too much to balance all at once. And like I said, a lot of people are going to be pissed because if they just let that go for a year, and then they do all these balance updates, people are going to be fucking livid. I don't think that's the move, me personally. That's a good thing because we're all going to have different opinions. And that's what shit like this is for. You know, it's good to just come together, see what people think, and just, you know, it's the beauty of it.
1.0 release when it goes free to play and becomes an actual, constantly updated, real game, even though it is being treated like a real game right now.
Because
imagine how many
if you think about it, if they leave Lightning Spear the way it is now, it's over 50% of players play Lightning Spear this league. They're just going to keep using it if they don't nerf it. And it is early access. You want people to try different things. And if everybody knows, okay, this is broken, they're doing a new league, it's going to stay broken until early access is done, people are just going to farm Lightning Spear forever. And then people are going to complain, it's still OP. I don't think that's the move. I don't like it.
Visions and how much trouble they're going through right now, adding dozens of new skills, thinking about the druid and swords and traps and the new bosses that are coming to the game and
axes,
all the league mechanics, and they have to rebalance all these things that are added every single patch. It's just a vast amount to keep in your heads. And we've also learned a lot of these decisions are made by a few top people at the company, 2 of them being Mark and Jonathan. That is a lot of weight to carry. I hope they're doing all right. Man, I am anxious to see what they've cooked for 030.
Same.
This next
I've
dude
been
was
dying to
unable
know.
to submit a video, but he sent me a nice write-up, so I'm going to conjure up my best South African alcohol impression. It's really bad. Crafting. We need a clearer idea of what the purpose of crafting is in Path of Exile 2. Currently, it feels like the system isn't new or innovative, but rather a partial rendition of the existing systems we
Yeah,
had
it just feels
in
like
POE1. Blindly stripping
bare
back
bones.
doesn't always mean
Like, it's not
innovation.
even-
A car with 3 wheels is just a broken car, but a motorbike with 2 wheels serves a new purpose that can do different things. It feels like we just have a car with 3 wheels right now. If the goal is to make ground loot matter more, make ground loot matter more. Don't make
we're on a
crafting
unicycle.
worse. And if there was a clear idea
With
for
only
a place
12
and function
PSI in
for
the
crafting
tire.
in POE2, please let us know soon, because currently it just feels like we have a token system in the game that the devs don't want to be there, but added it just to make people happy and say that the game has a functional crafting system. We've had numerous debates on crafting and ground loot in the Pod of Exile that we do
It'll get
together,
there.
Localhole, Surgog, Dreamcore, and I, and it's something that we go around circles and circles about. I bet the same thing is happening in Grinding Gear Games offices, and they're trying to engineer some way to make this work without placing something in the game that is near irreversible.
Yeah.
Something that we've talked about a few times in this video. I feel as though even though we're in early access and they said they can thrust stuff in the game a long time ago that then they can remove because it's not actually a released game, that's not the case. And they're quite timid on adding big content systems that completely change the game in fear that they just might be removed. But I won't lie, I'm a simple man. I want some middling approach to crafting, a crafting
Yeah, I feel
bench,
like you just slam
something that's
shit and
not a
pray,
runesmithing
and then
system,
you val it.
or at the top end using these omens
And
that
9 times out of
I'm
10,
never
my val
actually gonna
fails,
use
and it's
or even find.
ruined
This might
10,
shock
15
you, but
divine
I
items.
managed to get
It's
some
so-
words from the last Epoch legend himself, master of all the ARPGs out there.
Last Epoch. Well, 1 week from now? Is it the 21st? Yeah, 1 week from today. Beyond its Ancient Skies or something. We're 4 days into the hype week. I've read all the stuff. They're doing patch notes tomorrow. I'll be in there playing. Come hang out.
Aaron from Action RPG. Let's see what he thinks.
The question was asked, what do
I
I
see
think
this guy's videos a
POE2
lot.
needs right now? And my answer is, at least when I play all these other isometric action RPGs, then I play POE1, POE2, the first thing I notice is lack of quality of life. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other things that I wish the game had, but what I would love to see is a big overhaul on that front. You have to individually pick up each item. You don't have a sort button on your inventory. You don't have hybrid controller support with mouse and keyboard. You don't have a trade house. You need a
I'm a controller player. I'm not gonna lie. I'm 6'4". I got massive hands, and like I'm skinny. You can see my bones. My hand cramps up playing mouse and keyboard. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I've tried. It hurts too much. Controller is just more comfortable. I gotta get a new PlayStation controller. I prefer a PlayStation controller. Titan Quest lets you do it. I'm pretty sure Last Epoch lets you do it. Diablo lets you do it. Path of Exile does not let you play with a controller, switch, use your mouse to do inventory, and then pick up your controller and go again. Titan Quest 2 was perfect. Played on controller, went right, did my inventory management with my mouse, and then went right back. Like that's how it should be. How it should be. That's massive. I know a lot of people, like I've seen Hog talk about it. A lot of people talk about it. And hopefully that's coming sooner rather than later for PoE. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just so much easier. And if you're playing on console, well, you can get a mouse, right? But I mean, most of us play on PC, so you know.
ton of third-party tools. What I would love to see is a complete overhaul for quality of life.
You know, at this point, actually, W for Aaron. I agree with a lot of these points here. I know Last Epoch has a lot of this in the game. Other games are starting to adopt it as well. I think Path of Exile 2 needs an auction house. I love that it doesn't rely on third-party tools nearly as much as its predecessor. Do we need a sort function for our inventory? I don't think so.
No.
Would it be nice to send all your currency to the stash with one click? Yeah, maybe it's the old soul in me, but I like the little game of inventory Tetris sometimes in Path of Exile 2. The
Yeah, I
auto
know.
sort for my stash,
The
for my
Titan Quest, I
inventory
think,
and all that
or
is
no.
something that I'm not a big fan of.
Grim Dawn? We were to play Grim Dawn. Check it out. I think that had a sort, and I just hate it because I want to put things where I want them to be. I wouldn't use sort, honestly.
But I do agree with the guy. More quality of life is needed, and really, grinding your game seems to be giving ground on this.
Look, I do want to say, GGG they do a good job, right? We came from maining racing games to switching over to ARPGs, and you can't get anything from these big publishers, from these big game companies as far as quality of life, even content. GGG blows it out of the water. Their communication, the things that they do, when things go wrong, they're there that day or the next day to fix it the majority of the time. Like, especially when things really go bad, they're there to fix it. A lot of these other companies, I mean, look at Test Drive. You're weeks into the season 4. They still have no idea what they're doing. People can't pay their real money to get their solar passes, and they're not getting their XP. They're not getting their money. They're not getting their cars unlocked. There's tons of bugs, and they're just documented. Like, yeah, well, we don't know. Like, it's such a disaster. So, like, I will give GGG a ton of credit that, it's due. They do a good job. They do a good job.
Stuff like the Breach Splinters, upcoming content like the auction house
I like them
is
dropping
designed.
it once.
Okay, not an
So
auction
picking
house,
them up
but
as you go.
automated trading of some sort. We're making movements, and people like Aaron are why. And everybody's sounding off in the comments section below. Okay, those are the words of all of my friends. Now, let's see what everybody in the community and the Talkative Try YouTube channel has to say. Hip Chipperly says, the biggest thing that I thought was lacking in 0.2 was no additional skills for the existing weapons. Bows
Yes.
and maces have very limited options. Hopefully this is addressed in the new patch.
That's the thing. Are they going to add new skills to existing weapons, or are they going to stay right around like the 20? Was it 20? 19 to 21 or whatever it is? Are they going to stay, or are we eventually going to get more? We have to eventually get more, right? But that was a big thing.
Right on the money.
And if they're redoing all of the skills to make them endgame viable, we're definitely not getting new ones.
Kip, love the profile picture, by the way. I am in agreement that they need to fill out all of the coming soon options for the existing weapons.
Like I said, I play a lot of mercenary. There's too many shotgun options that just poof, like big shots that just, they're not viable at all. You know what I mean? And then to not deal with like reload and slow speeds, to just make those shotguns like go forever, you got to use the Last Lament, which consumes 300 of your HP, and then you got to crank the hell out of some life leech and damage on, or life on kill, and it's just like not worth it at that point.
As Snoo said earlier in the video, they are being a little bit hampered by their need to balance, or their desire to balance everything.
Yeah.
Whereas a different and maybe better approach would just to be adding new content into the game and worrying about balance way down the line when the game is fully released. Egghead MU says, 1. Get X 4 through 6 done and remove Cruel. 2.
I've seen a lot of people ask, I mean, I think in an interview they said that the acts are coming sooner rather than later. And I see a lot of people saying they want the acts to be shorter. They said that Act 6 will be a very fast, like gauntlet style. So we're going to get Act 4 and 5. And the biggest thing with making a new character is having to go through Cruel. Like, having to run them twice sucks. I get why they did it. It makes sense. But if Act 4, 5, and 6 come out, it's going to be a huge W. Huge. People will make more characters because it's not such a slog to go through it again,
Add in-game auction house. There are a bunch of other things, but those two are absolutely crucial. Egg Dude is right on the money. I think getting Acts 4 through 6 is probably the most important thing they need to do above adding any classes, honestly, any balance, even the in-game auction house. Replaying Cruel is incredibly boring for many of us, and I know lots of people have grinded out Diablo 2 for decades at this point redoing the game over and over, but it's just not what I personally want to do, and lots of people seem to share that sentiment. Additionally, when you add new acts into the game in a game like Path of Exile 2, it all trickles throughout the rest of the game. More base items, more bosses, more area types, more monsters. It's just a tremendous effect. And I know
all of that
I don't
goes
need
in
to say
Endgame.
more about the auction house. We are in agreement, as is Travic. Probably Jacob says, one of the issues POE2 claimed to want to solve was leveling build diversity, which was a big problem in Path of Exile 1. Right now, one of the major reasons I haven't fired up a new run in POE2 is that early game really feels like it's on rails in terms of which builds can get you to max comfortably.
I agree.
We need some skill rebalancing so that more experimental builds can clear the campaign and get going on maps without having to do crazy respecs. Probably Jacob is echoing the sentiment we've heard many times in this video. Build diversity, either due to lack of balance or due to lack of options in the game. Just
Like
really
once this
sucks
game
right
is
now.
out for
I
another like 2
suppose it's a
years,
matter
it's gonna
of
be
what
so
GGG
good.
thinks
It's
they
gonna
should
be
focus
so
on
fucking
versus
good. I
what the
can't wait.
community thinks. Should they add more options or balance? What should they focus on more? Let me know in the comments below. Bird NMN says, love for SSF players. We know they say it's a self-imposed challenge, but we'd like to party up with friends or even get more loot and or currency. LE does a good job on that matter. This is a very tricky subject. I don't think grinding your games will ever bend on this. However, the addition of systems that allow you to be a little bit more
I don't play hardcore solo stuff found.
on people responding to you is an
I need to
auction
rely on
house,
trade to
but
get
increased
some gear
drop
and
rates,
some builds
more
going. It's just
currency,
way
and
easier to
solo
be on
self-found.
trade.
I
you
don't
know?
think Path of Exile will ever be that sort of game. Last Epoch, though, is embracing it. And I'm saying this even as I heavily enjoy just playing in solo self-found and not worrying about the market in the slightest. I just think that's an entirely different game, one that GGG is not designing. And finally, from the community, Great White Ninja 720, gearing their game more toward the average gamer instead of the hardcore streamers who play.
I will say I think both should be considered. You know, I mean, obviously streamers are going to be the loudest voice and have the most opinions, and they're the ones blasting the game 8 to 10 hours a day. You know, they don't have anything else to do, so they're going to want more endgame stuff and more tweaks that, you know, you got to figure. People are busy, you know, the economy sucks. Like, I'm struggling. You know, I've been struggling for years trying to keep up with YouTube and then having to work when, you know, I'm not making ad revenue on YouTube. The past 2 months, my revenue on YouTube has been cut in half, and I've seen a lot of people talk about they're not making money. The ad revenue has been lower. Like, it's tough. So, you know, I have to work more instead of putting more time into videos. So you figure somebody's got a job and they got to work overtime. Same thing, right? You don't have as much time to play. You might get 30 minutes to an hour a night, or you only, you know, get that every few days because you got a job, you got kids, you got a wife, you got responsibilities. And you gotta, I think the game has a decent mix, but I do agree. I think the Diablo 4 campaign was a pretty good mix, you know, where it was really good for the casual gamer. But I think there should be a balance between the average dad gamer and a hardcore. I think there should be kind of the best of both worlds, but I don't think they should go full on to the average gamer.
And I'm not even talking try. I'm talking the ones who don't have kids or a wide. I believe he means wife. Again, this is a tricky one that I don't think is solvable by grinding your games, because they are not designing a game that is uber duper casual friendly. This is a mentality problem, a shift you.
I agree, that's a mentality problem, because like POE1 is very difficult. I remember my girlfriend got me an ARPGs a few years ago, and POE1 was absolutely crazy. Like, I couldn't just play. I had to look up a guide and like really figure it out. And you got people that played for thousands of hours and they're still like, I'm learning stuff. You know, I feel like getting in with POE2 has been a lot easier because I'm there when it's been bare bones and I can grow with the game in a way that I wasn't there for POE1. But this POE2 is way easier to understand and make builds for than POE1 is. So you know, as far as that goes, I feel like it's a little bit more geared towards the average player as far as like accessibility and getting into the game and understanding how everything works.
You have to make, as I've made myself. I have made my bed and now I am lying in it. And I'm not saying that because I don't love my family or anything. I just understand I will never, ever be able to be on the same level in terms of playtime, skill, knowledge, as someone who plays 18 hours a day, doing this as their job. There are very few professions or hobbies or games in which that's feasible. If there is a game out there that allows you to play that much, you are definitely going to have an advantage in playing that much.
Yep.
The solution, honestly, it's on us. The impetus is on you. You need to make that mindset shift. Because
Impetus,
again,
the
I don't
sport
think
gem-
grinding your games
sport
is
gem in
going
there,
to
huh?
design the game to allow someone who plays for 1 hour to have the same power, the same speed, the same impact on the economy as those who play for 18 hours a day. Maybe that's a deal breaker for you, but I've come to accept it, and I just have fun playing the game.
Yeah, that's all you can
play
do.
the game. For those of you who agree with Great White Ninja 720, let me know in the comments below. What solution would you impose
just
to
die?
even
Yep.
go about making the game more even? I can't think of one that's realistic. And there we have it. What Path of Exile 2 needs right
made it.
now as of patch
A long video, my
0.20,
bad.
entering 0.30 in the eyes of many of my friends and content creators in the community, in your eyes, the Talkative Try community. I hope Grinding Gear Games sees this. I hope they understand frustrations, desires, and just wishes that people have about this excellent early access title we have cooking right now. This was a very feedback heavy video, but in all of my discussions with my friends and with people in the comments, everybody has one goal in mind. They want Path of Exile 2 to be more fun and to be the best game out there.
Yep.
Many people are confident that Grinding Your Games
Oh,
is
they'll
the
do
company
it.
that can make this happen.
They'll do
I
it.
know I'm one of those people too. Which, by the way, I didn't say what I think Path of Exile 2 needs right now to improve the game, to make it more fun. Thought it would be fun. Maybe let me know in the comments below. What do you think and what do you think Path of Exile 2 needs right now to make it a better game? The single most important thing. Don't pull a Galadriel or a Neversink and give me 3 items, guys. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video right now if you liked it, subscribe to the channel for more Path of Exile 2 content, and to watch this video on the screen right now, which is likely a podcast all about Path of Exile 2 or one of my live streams. You should catch them sometime on YouTube or Twitch. Anyways, that's all for this one. As always, have fun and stay sane.
Oh, there it is. Welcome to Try. That was a good collab. I like how he gets a lot of the community involved. So, like I said, reach out. I might reach out. I don't know. I might not. I hate to feel like I'm like, oh, hey, you know what I mean? But we've played for 1,000 hours. We've made hundreds of hours of content on this game, multiple builds. You know, we've had some good streams. And well, that was all my thoughts as we went along. I know it's a longer video, but that's it. I mean, it's a good time to be an ARPG fan. We got Last Epoch on the 21st, 1 week from today. Then 8 days after that, we got Path of Exile 2. And then Titan Quest 2 every 3 months. And Grim Dawn expansion, I think, 2026. And then Grim Dawn 2 in 2026. And then POE1's going to continue to get updated. It's a good time. But anyway, boys, you know the drill. Subscribe, come back. See you in the next one.